Hello, and welcome to a Walk of Faith podcast. I'm Marybel Mayorga, and I'm on a mission. I hope to orient and guide you through your journey of faith. But I cannot do it alone, so we will go through it together with the help of many friends. You may have a lot of questions, which is totally normal. In fact, I am happy that you have them. So don't worry, we're going to cover them and help you so that you don't feel alone. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get started. We have a beautiful guest today. Her name is Isabel Correa, and I'm really happy that she said yes to this. She's the director of the Youth Ministry Office for the Archdiocese of Montreal. She's also the national coordinator for World Youth Day 2023. That, by the way, you should go. You should inform yourself. For the CCCB, so Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops. Isabel, welcome. Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you. This is going to be fun, Marybel.
Yes. Do you remember how we met?
You're going to have to refresh my memory because I remember coming into the office one day, but okay, go.
Exactly.
Go.
So I have to explain this because, back then, my parish, we didn't have, a youth group or something like that. So myself, I did some research and I am like, okay, I have to find something. Like, it's impossible that here in my city, there's not a group, that I can inform and have some resources. And I found out Mission Jeunesse here in Montreal. And then I'm like, okay, well, I have to knock doors. God, please help me here. And I think this is where I found you. I think you remember bringing I think I had my CV or something like that.
That I remember. So
but
enthusiastic, I think filled with joy always.
But I think that was the first thing I actually remember. I was trying to remember if we met before, but
no. And you and I remember our conversation because then you started telling me a little bit about your journey, your dancing, and we had quite a good conversation. You told me a little bit about.
It's true.
Where you have been and that you wanted to serve, that you wanted to do something different, that you were looking to study. I think you were doing your communications thing back then, and you also offered to volunteer. And I think we said yes right away and asked you to do something right away.
But you know what? I'm so happy that you're here and that you said yes, because you're so, youth, all these young people, because you've been surrounded for how many years? Way more than 20 years that you're doing this. So for the people who don't know you, can you please share or tell us a little bit about yourself or your journey and your story?
Sure. I know young people because somebody got to know me, and that's really important in my journey. I was a regular teenager from two Colombian parents, immigrated here. I was born and raised here. Grew up in the faith. Doesn't mean that I believed right away. We followed whatever was done in my house. And it was only until I was a teenager that a friend of mine invited me to teach catechism or help out with the faith enrichment programs that were happening and for the children. And I said yes. At that time, I would have done anything possible to get out of the house. So for me, it was fun. It was an adventure. It wasn't necessarily because it was a call or I felt like I was doing something special. I felt it was great to get out of the house and to do something with my friends. And to my big surprise, once I entered that church basement, the church hall, and I saw so many of my friends from school and the hall filled with over 200 young people, kids, I was just like, wow, this is big. This is different. And so I got to meet my friends, and from there, it's as if something opened up inside of me. And I just love being a part of it. We got training, we went on different activities. Slowly that led for me to go to World Youth Day in Denver. Eventually participate in all kinds of leadership camps, and it was really special. And I think I remember going to an Easter vigil at some point on my own because I wanted to go.
Mm.
Not because my parents forced me to go or asked me to go or demanded that it was something that I wanted to do. And at that vigil, I don't know, I really heard God's voice in me, uh, calling me to do something beautiful and special in this world, that my life had meaning. And that encounter just like kept me motivated for the rest of my life. It still does today because it's still what keeps echoing. My life is meant to be a reflection of beauty in this world for others, and it's my message to young people all the time. God doesn't make mistakes, and he, you're that our lives are not accidents. They're purposeful, and we're meant to be doing something on purpose, not just haphazardly, but on purpose,
Mhm.
intentional. Uh, that of course, like really opened up my entire world. I went on mission trips, even went down to Nicaragua on a mission trip, which really changed my life. Uh, what else did I do? I remember coming back to finish my degree. And it's important that I tell you this part of the story because this
Mhm.
is how big the conversion was for me. I studied actuarial math because
Yes, you told me that. I remember.
my goal in life was to get out of the house and make money quick and make lots of money. And so in my studies, I figured, I'm good in math. Why not actuarial math? And it's not as easy as it looks. It was quite challenging. But as I'm going into that faculty and I'm going into the building, I used to see the math, faculty of math, and then right above, there was a sticker, that says faculty of theology. It was in the same building. And every time I would go up those stairs, I would say, wow, these people studying theology, what a waste of time. How are they ever going to get a job? Are you kidding me? Oh, wow, forget it. And I'd be like going up my stairs, with a bounce in my step, really happy, really proud of what I was studying. And lo and behold, years later, after a couple of World Youth Days, after more prayer, after a lot of discernment, I was going up those same stairs because I decided to do my master's in theology because I felt the call to really grow in my faith. And I was walking up those same stairs, and my bounce had changed. And I'm like, what was I thinking when I was studying math? Just math. Why didn't I think that there was more than that in life, more than money and this desire to make it big? So those are for me very laughable moments where God just has such a sense of humor.
And it's
And
so beautiful how all that came. Well, of course, you said like at the beginning, you're introduced, let's say, to this world by offering some help. You were helping these young people, through a parish there, and then Work Youth Day came in. And can you please explain what is exactly World Youth Day? Because I remember when I went and then I received many questions, but you're the expert about World Youth Day, and you received a call. Let's say like what you described to me, you received a call. So can you explain a little bit what is World Youth Day?
well, I'm going to tell you how I experienced it the first time
Okay.
because I didn't know what World Youth Day was either. And in fact, the first time I was invited to go, I said no. I said, nah, I'm not gonna go. Forget it. This is not for me. And then my friends had said yes, and my friends, all they did for the next several months was talk about World Youth Day
Mhm.
and how this girl who had gone to the previous one was talking about it, giving her witness, how it had changed her life, all the fundraising events, all the activities. And I started to think like, yeah, maybe I should go to this thing. Maybe it's something I should be doing. Yet there was no place. Everything was booked. I couldn't
Oh,
go. And then I was like, oh, I called up the sister who was in charge. I said, well, if ever there's a space for me, I'd like to go. And she goes, oh, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, I'll put you on the waiting list. I was so happy the day I got the phone call to say, yes, I could come.
Oh.
And I really didn't know what I was embarking on. My desire to go was because my friends were going. And I didn't want to be left out. But when I went, it really changed my life. For the first time, I saw that I was not alone in my faith. I saw thousands and thousands, I would say even millions of young people that are not alone in their faith. Like that I was not the only one that was believing. That was it. That was so big for me. That aspect of World Youth was like, it's a life changer. The other aspect is it's the universality of it. Is whether I'm here in Montreal, in my little parish, or whether I'm in another country, in another place, in another language, it's the same. Faith. God speaks to us. God speaks to us through other people. It's hard to put into words that experience. I always tell people, you just got to experience it. Yeah. So on this, it's paradoxical because on the one hand, you have a universal experience, not feeling alone. And on the other hand, I had this powerful experience of being talked to personally, as if everything that was being said was, Isabel, this is just for you. It really is a mystery. And I've spoken to so many young people that have gone, and they express a very similar experience of, my gosh, it's so big. I'm not alone. I didn't know there were others. Yeah. And yet it just feels so personal, so individually personal.
And you're so right, because that's the first, I remember that was the first emotional feeling that I had. That was the impact that I received. I'm like, okay, I'm not alone. This is, it's real. It's real. There's over 1 million young people coming in to one country and they all have the same faith, or they're more curious about our Catholic faith. And I didn't feel alone. And that really was something big for me too, as well. It's the fact that I wasn't alone, especially, through when I was saying, like, before the parish, when I was before it was like some young people, and we think that's it. We think that's it. Or even here too. Now we're in Montreal, but even here too, there's some young people that they're like, there's nothing going on.
Yeah. There's nothing going on. I know that feeling of feeling alone, feeling like we're the only ones that believe, only ones that have questions, only ones that are experiencing these things. And the answer is no, we're not alone. And everybody in their little corner thinks that they're alone. But when you get together and you start talking about it and you start sharing, you realize, no, we're not alone. No. But it's to have that courage to go, to experience, to try it out, to risk. I mean, I really am so grateful for the friendships that I've had for that community, because I don't think I would have done it alone. And that's the thing. You really do need a community to help you say yes to these big experiences in life.
And as Catholic too, it's, you need your time alone. But as we were saying, like in other podcasts, community is so, so important for us, as Catholic. But because by the way, there's a point that you said about it does change your life. And I'm telling you guys, we're not exaggerating here. It does change your life, your perspective, your faith, your everything. You're growing from this. You're learning from it. That's for sure. What would you say, Isabel, to some people who are hesitant? Yeah, you were saying like, okay, take some risk. But they don't know where to go. They feel like they really feel alone. That was me, but that was me. Maybe it was, let's say, the Holy Spirit calling me, well, go to see Mission Jeunesse. But there's some people that right now, they just feel completely alone and they don't know where to go, who to talk to. What would you say to them?
Well, that's an excellent question, because it's a question that so many young people are facing right now. Our young people today, they have so many possibilities for so many different types of experiences. I mean, there's no chance for boredom, and yet so many are bored because they're looking for meaning. But there's so many things out there, from from going out entertainment wise to knowledge wise experiences. So yet, even with the plurality of things, there's that emptiness, because they're looking for purpose. What is my life all about? What's my legacy? What am I going to contribute to this world? What am I going to leave behind? What's my purpose in life? What's my path to happiness? How do I get out of this routine?
That creates anxiety. That creates like all that mental.
Instead of like today, it seems to create anxiety because of our attitude towards these questions. Because we don't have the answers, then we let fear set in, and as if we're supposed to have the answers. But our youthfulness, our time of when we're young, these questions are meant to be exciting.
Yeah.
These questions are meant to fill us with hope, with potential, with possibility. We get to explore our freedom. We get to test out things. We get to fail, get back up, and test something else out. That's what our youthfulness is meant to be. Nowadays, it's like we have to have the right answer right away on the first try, or even before trying, like as if we are supposed to know it all, and we don't. That's why when we're young, it's the time of being experimenting, of trying out new. When I say experimenting, what I mean is trying, developing our talents.
Yep.
Learning about different things that perhaps we thought we would never learn about, but then we just dive in. Oh, this would be interesting to find out about.
Like you in accounting and now going to theology.
Exactly. Being thirsty for knowledge, being thirsty to learn, being thirsty to discover beauty. I think, one of the things I encourage young people is listen to people, listen to what they're saying, listen, dive into dialogue, develop opportunities for dialogue. Look, I always remember the movie Patch Adams. I'm dating myself by mentioning the movie Patch Adams, but at one point in the movie, he's talking to potential new doctors, and he tells them, go interview people, go call people on the phone book, just dial them up and have conversations with people, get to know people. And I think when we ask people, the Holy Father has been saying it lately, go talk to your grandparents.
Yes.
Go talk to your elders. Just ask them questions. What was their life like? What brought them here? What were the struggles? How was it different for them? How did they grow up? In listening to people, we learned that, one, we're not alone in facing struggles. Two, we learned that life is not just a straight line from A to B, that there's so many possibilities to get to point B, and that God is with us every step of the way. He never abandons us. So that's really my advice to young people is ask questions, listen, try, risk, try. Don't worry about failing. You'll get back up and try something else.
Because it's easy to think that we have it all. Us, me, myself, and I. We don't think about God immediately. We should.
Yeah.
But it's like so tempting because of this world, this society, all this noise around, right? It's like our first reaction. It's like, okay, well, how can I do that? How can I worry more? How can I stress more? We want the solution now, like you said. How can we go? I mean, I will ask this, but how can we go straight to God, and not go into that section of like stress, worrying? I mean, I know it's a big question because we all stress, we all worry.
You know what? It's not going to happen. I'll tell you right now, it's not going to happen. Why? Because we have a God who did not take the easy way to show us how much he loved us. He didn't, say, got on a broadcast system and put a nice poster, big banner out there to show us he loved us. He chose the most uncomfortable way to show us how much he loved us. He took on our human condition. When he was a God, he took on our human condition and he died for us on the cross, the most humiliating experience possible for a human being was to be crucified, because that's how you crucified, prisoners, thieves, people who had done something against the law. Yeah. And he chose that to show us, even when he was undeserving of this, he took it upon himself to carry all of our burdens, all of our difficulties, everything. He took that way. So for us, and the Lord, God rewarded him, loved him, and gave him the resurrection, resurrected him and gave him eternal life, and they got back together in the Holy Spirit, all three in one. Like, this may sound like that's too complex. That's crazy talk now, but it isn't crazy talk, because this is like the fundamental source of our Christian hope, that we know that through tough times, through crucifixion times, through abandonment times, through times of trial, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There is the resurrection. We're not going to be left alone, that the Lord is going to send his Holy Spirit to us, that we have a model that has gone before us to show us the way. When we think about that and we learn about that and we begin to integrate that Christian hope in our life, we never stay down. Yeah. It's impossible to stay down, because there's always a source whispering in our heart saying, get up, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Tomorrow's a brand new day. You're not alone in this. I will never abandon you. Look at my son. I love you. You are my beloved. And when you hear these words over and over in your faith journey, you can't help but move on ahead. But of course, if you're just listening to this, you're like going, that is crazy. And I understand that. I used to think that way too, until it happened to me personally, until I got down on my knees and I said, I surrender.
Yes.
Until I said, Lord, you are my Lord and my God. Come help me. Come guide me. I don't want to do this anymore on my own. And when you surrender to the Lord, it's like a guarantee that you will receive strength that you didn't think you had. It's not that the situation is going to change from,
in 1 second,
right away, automatically. But it gives you a strength to pick yourself up and try different things, take the next step, and keep walking in that path of light. And all of a sudden, difficulties become bearable. And there's so many examples of in our faith tradition for that. If you take a look at some of the martyrs, some of the saints, or just people ordinary life, like our parents, I have friends who have gone through tremendous things that that they've surrendered to the Lord and they've received their own personal miracle.
And I like to, you say the saints too, and we tend to forget these saints, like, they were human. They were human like us. Yes, they're saints, but there's a reason. They were, if you go read and do a little research of each of whatever saint you're gonna choose, they were like us human beings. Like, they didn't have like a supernatural power or something like that. That God granted, but they suffered. They suffered. For me, those are example. I remember I saw a sentence saying, like, there are brothers and sisters. And thank God for these saints, because they're role models for us. So again, that we don't feel alone.
Yeah. And I think many of these saints, which is why it's a model to me. I mean, to me, they inspire me, is they found their way in loving. Like you said before, young people, they're lost. They feel alone. And one of the ways to get out of that rut, to get out of that that sense of doom and failure, and that is to love somebody else.
Yes.
And we often think, oh, I have to be in a romantic relationship. I mean, that could be an option, and that would be great if that's the way you found your way out. But what I'm talking about loving somebody else is love somebody else who's not necessarily capable of loving you back. Love in service. Do something for somebody else. Do an act of service for somebody else. And you'll realize that there will always be people who are worse off than you. And to me, it has taught me the grace of receiving. Because when I give to others, I learn how to receive as well. Because they're teaching me so much humility by how they receive. And it starts off that cycle of learning to give, learning to receive, learning to live, because that becomes our whole life. And the other thing I also tell young people is there's more to life than just mere entertainment. If you're constantly just being subjected to entertainment where you're just, it hits you constantly, there's a part of you that's lying dormant, and you're not living to your full potential. You be the source of entertainment.
Yeah.
You be the light in somebody else's life.
Yeah.
You give. You leave your mark. Be your own movie. Be your own show. Be your own artwork. To somebody else. Go make the world beautiful.
Yeah, and I don't think God didn't want you like to just sit there and what you say, receive these entertainment and being fed up. Like, oh, you have to. God give you a gift, so you have to move on and share that gift to the world.
Oh, for sure. We are called to be protagonists of our own life, and I see so many people being victims of their own life, being very passive of their own life, and they don't even realize it. They don't know that they don't know. And something like World Youth Day is like a catalyst. It sets a fire on you to get up and move and go, and be like Mary, who goes out in haste and goes to talk to Elizabeth and shares her own joy and her own, difficulties and challenges. Go out of yourself, I think is probably one of the best advice I can give people.
Yeah, go and move and don't stay still. I mean, there's time to stay still in prayer.
Absolutely.
There's time, but there's also time for you like to go and don't be scared. And for me, yeah.
So sorry, Marybel, to interrupt. Listen, you just said it. Our young people, they're not sitting still. They're very busy.
Yeah.
And when you hear you say that, no, go do, they're probably hearing do more.
No,
no, this is not what we're talking about.
Focus.
Do differently.
Yes.
Do differently. Because what I'm hearing from young people is they're exhausted. They're very tired because their whole life from very young is super structured. That they get up, they have a routine. They go to school, the routine is filled. After school, there's more routine. They're going to bed later and later because of all these devices that are always lighting up, and they're tired. They're always on the go. They're filling up every single free moment with an activity or something to do, because they're also struggling with FOMO, fear of missing out. So at the same time, we're talking to a generation who's like, but I'm already doing so much. And I'm like, yes, you're doing so much, but look at what you're doing. You're in a rat race. You're looking to fill up your CV because you think it's going to bring you more money or a better future. What are the things that you're doing that are making you more human? Because that's your real, milestone moments or big, goals in life, is how to be more human and live out your humanity in a total way. It's not, getting the job or getting the money. I used to think that way too. I know it. I was caught up in the same thing until I realized, oh my God, what was I thinking? Thank you, Lord. Thank
Yeah.
you for showing me that there's more to life than being on that treadmill, on that race, on trying to grab all these experiences because it's going to get me to a higher place.
Mm.
And then we delay certain things in our life and we tell ourselves that story. We say, oh yeah, once I finish school, I'll do that. I'll get to that eventually. Yeah, no, once I get my first job, I'll get to that eventually, and we postpone big decisions in our life, and then we say, oh, well, when I get that promotion, when I buy my first car, well, wait a second, when I buy the house, when I get my first house, or when I get my first condo, or when I get my first apartment, then I'll do it, no, first I need to travel. First I'll travel. And then we keep on postponing all these inner desires of things we really want to do and really express how we want to love and the legacy we want to leave behind, because we think we have to accumulate all these things before we start being human.
Yeah. And I think it's it's important what you say here, because you need a time of discernment, because for me, all that, it happened to me. I remember there was a lot of noise, if I can put an image, like there was a lot of uh, it was going too fast, way too fast. And yes, I had a goal of this in my resume, this there, and I want to do this. I had some goals, knowing myself, I was writing all my goals and all that and my dreams and all. But was I really working, you know, uh, on myself, on my relationship with God, on what is my foundation really? And it comes, believe me, if it's not God, I mean, my body really, I remember my body just shut down, because first of all, I was doing way too much, but that's another story. Uh, but I didn't know where to go. I was like, just, walking, when you just walk, but you don't know why you have to walk. There's no like, I didn't have like a strong foundation there. And then it just came a moment when you have to take a time. You have to take a time and discern on what is exactly important.
I was in a club. Okay. I was in a club, the music blaring. Everybody around me was drinking and dancing and moving. And I'm sitting there, I'm standing there and in a corner, and I'm just watching all of a sudden this going on around. It's as if I had an out of body experience saying to me, like, what are you doing?
Mm.
What are you doing? What are you doing here? And I mean, I was, don't get me wrong, I was having fun. But I was also living that type of double life where
Yes.
what I was doing Friday, Saturday night wasn't matching what I was doing Sunday morning.
Mm.
And, you feel it. Eventually you feel it. You feel it and you got to do something about it. And Marybel, you mentioned something before, the gift of silence.
Mm-hmm.
Creating spaces for silence. And
It's not easy, especially if
no,
you're
not at all.
hyperactive or something like that. I can I can speak for, like, it's not easy. It's not easy.
No, it's very difficult. But the thing is, people say, "Oh yeah, silence." Isabel, when you tell me to practice silence, you know what happens to me? I fall asleep. I'm like, yeah. For many people, silence for them means my body shuts down.
Mm.
And I said, I know you have to train yourself, just like the way you train for any sports or any routines that you want to be doing. You have to train and practice, because one of the reasons we fill up our lives with so many things is because we think silence is unproductive.
No.
And we're scared of it. We're scared
Mhm.
of what it's actually going to reveal to us.
Yeah.
So I tell people, practice it. Practice, start by a minute or 2 minutes a day, just to allow your body to stop and pay attention to what's happening to you, and slowly increase that
And
until
and
you
you
can.
Yeah, I would
You
say
can
that's
reach for like 10, 15 minutes, and you will see how you begin to think in a very different way.
and it's amazing the feeling. I remember starting that a couple of years ago. Like right now, if I don't have that in the morning, first thing in the morning, because I do it through prayer, of course, but then just silence, and then at night, that's for sure. Sometimes in the middle of the day too, as well. Like it's like for me, like, okay, let's reground something. Like I have to uh ground myself because
Yeah.
okay, we're not gonna lie, there's too much going on, and there's too much, or our dreams too, sometimes we're like moving fast pace and all that. But wow, it's an amazing feeling. I don't see myself not starting my day with at least a prayer, at least a prayer that I do with me and God. It's
Yeah.
a relationship that I want to keep. And for me, it's so, so, so essential
Yeah.
to at least offer my day, for him.
Yeah, there's small ways, and there's a misconception that we have to be in church to make a difference.
Mm,
That the only place that God talks to us is in the
right.
church. And when I have these conversations with young people, they're like, "Oh, I thought in order to be Christian, I had to go to church every day." I said, some people do, and they find solace in that, and they lots of consolation, and it's wonderful for them, and they can fit it into their schedule. But you can also talk to God on your own on the week, during the weekdays, and just and allow him to fill your heart with that serenity, that with that serenity that so many are thirsting and craving for.
Mm. What would you say to someone who like they believe in God, but at the same time they having rough time, whatever is related with the church, our Catholic faith and all that, and then they just went away, they're not going to the church anymore and all that. They know they should come back, but it's so tough because of the belief or what they believe. What would you say to these young people? Because for me, when I see that, it breaks my heart. Okay, whatever situation they're living, it breaks my heart because let's say, like Pope Francis said, young people, you are the future. And you're not the future, like you will be no, it's now. You are the future. So we kind of need you. So what would you say to them?
That I feel the same way, that I too work for the church, and I find days where like, what's going on here? That's Well, how can we do this? How can we be that this way? And I I'll repeat an advice to me that was given to me by a bishop years ago when I started working for the church. He told me, says, Isabel, you got to remember here that the church is made up of sinners. It's not perfect. It's made up of people like you and me who are sinners. We're not flawless. We're sinners. And that gives me consolation, because God loved us even when we weren't deserving of his love.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow all of these people, God has chosen them to be instruments of his love. At the end of my life, God's going to ask me, how have I been able to love? He's not going to ask me about my accomplishments. He's going to ask me about how have I been able to love. So these are kind of things that get me through these rough moments. I've met wonderful and amazing people, super generous people who have changed my life inside the church. I've also met, terrible people inside the church. I always say, another lesson from another bishop: trust 100% of the time, knowing that 20% of the time it's going to fail. People are going to disappoint you, because no one's perfect. People are going to disappoint you. But 80% of the time it's going to go well. So don't let the 20% rob you of the 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is lots of power in this lots of love in this community of people who are searching to do God's will.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to them. But in many cases, they being disappointed in the behavior of the church is a healthy thing, because it can move us to be better and improve. And the younger generation are quick to point out better ways, new ways. And we need them to be courageous and be insisting that we can do better. I look at all of society, it's the younger generation who are pushing us to be greener, to be more earth friendly, to be more fair, more, to increase in our ways of mercy and injustice, and in the way we practice our justice. We need that in our church too, where we really learn to be more welcoming and more loving, and preach not just by words, but by actions.
Yes.
The other thing I would add to that is, for those that have a harder time with some of the teachings, I was there. I was that young person who was like, why is the church teaching this and that? And why can't it be like this? And why can't it be like that? And I think the best advice that I received myself, which I decided to follow, is, Isabel, do you know what you're actually talking about? I felt, when the person confronted me, I was like, are you kidding? Why are you talking to me that way? And they said, well, with all due respect, Isabel, like, do you know what you're talking about? Do you know your faith? Do you know where the teaching comes from? Have you really understood the church's position on some of these things? And my answer was no. And so then search. You are an intelligent woman, go and search. And it's exactly what I did. It changed my entire perspective. What did I learn? I learned that I cannot learn my faith through an Instagram reel.
No.
Or to a TikTok reel, or to a tweet, I can't learn my faith that it takes time, that some of these teachings, they have a tradition, they have a history to it, they have a development to it, that there are reasons why for it. And I need to take the time and the respect, like giving it the time and respect, so that I can actually learn it properly and learn to articulate it and understand where they're coming from. And that has changed my perspective on so many things that the church teaches. It has helped me to understand, oh, now I see, now I get it.
Yeah.
But it requires a lot of patience, because again, it doesn't come from a tweet. You need, and there are a lot of good people out there teaching and giving the opportunity for young adults to learn their faith properly. I would say dare to jump on that bandwagon and learn on your own. It'll change your perspective on your entire life.
Yeah, and this is so important what you said, because you basically say go to the source. Go, please. It's not Instagram, the source.
Yeah,
it's not, or tweet or whatever. And many times I remember repeating this: go straight to the source. Go figure it out. Don't just
these social media platforms, they point you to some very credible sources, but you can't stay just on the social media platform. Go and do the deep dive.
Yeah.
And really dig deep.
So before we finish up, Isabel, you're here, so we have to talk about Word Youth Day that's coming in a few days. Yes. And can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because it's for a whole week, right?
Well, here in Montreal, what we've chosen to do is to do a week-long celebration to make sure that Montrealers get a chance to experience, at least have a sense of that enthusiasm that is generated by World Youth Day. So we have a week-long event. We have an event for teens to start off the week on November 12th. And then the 13th to the 20th is all kinds of activities, from art, sports, and conferences, prayer, different ways of encountering Christ. There's for every faith levels. Well, if you're new to the church, there's something for you. If you're more familiar, there's something for you. Our main event is on the Friday night, November 18th. And that's at the cathedral. That's a lot of fun always, and a beautiful moment. We get to experience what we call adoration, which is we sit in front of God and God watches us and we watch him, and we get to practice that silence. And if we're really lucky, hear God's voice through the music, through other people, through the different witnessing. And then on Sunday, parishes all across the island are encouraged to celebrate Mass of Christ the King in honor of World Youth Day. So I'm looking forward to that week. That's in Montreal for that here, the World Youth Day 2022. Mm-hmm. But I cannot stop but mention World Youth Day 2023 because it's coming. Yeah. I mean, I'm heading to Lisbon in the next couple of days to meet with the team. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's a little bit bigger because we're talking about more than 1 million people here. But yes, guys, if you feel alone, go to these events. You won't feel alone. Believe me, there's a sense of community there that it's so important, and you will discover so many few things. But yes, I'm gonna leave the details for sure because you have to experience this. And you will see your faith journey will it will change your life, honestly. World Youth Day really personally for me really changed my life back a long time ago. The last one in Panama for me was also a big eye opener. So please go do your research. You're not gonna be alone. Believe me, you're gonna feel this sense of community, and we welcome you, arms way open, because God has those arms way open for you as well. So thank you so much, Isabel. Thank you for your time. I know right now you're a busy woman. I was so lucky to have at least an hour with you. So thank you so much for giving this beautiful message to these young people.
My pleasure. I'll leave you with one last, and it's a nugget from Pope Francis. I was in person when he said it. And it really changed my own perspective. He says, don't ask, who am I? Everybody's looking for their identity. Who am I? Don't ask that question. Rather ask the question, who am I for? Who do I want to be a gift for? And that will lead you to so many discoveries. So go out there and love somebody.
Yes. Thank you so much, Isabel.
All right, that's it for this week's episode, my friends. If you have questions about anything we've spoken about here on the podcast today, I would love to hear from you. You can always connect with me on social media. I'm Marybel Mayorga on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But for now, I want to thank you so much for being part of today's journey. And I'm really grateful that you chose to spend your time with me. God bless you.